Hi, we're here with Vajra mom. Vajra has been a tantric dance of power teacher for close to 20 years. And she has a book that's coming out recently called From a Hidden Stream, The Natural Spiritual Authority of Women. So we'll talk to Vajra today about the various works and accomplishments that she has done, and also this further inquiry into the divine feminine and authority. We are a microcosm of the greater macrocosm.
Yeah.
Now, how does that tie into authority?
Authority, the word author means to create.
Mm-hmm.
So if you author something, you have authority. The words are connected.
Mm-hmm.
But you not only have authority, you have responsibility. And so when I look at a woman, her authority, her spiritual authority is natural because we give birth. And the natural thing is to take care of that child. You are responsible for it.
Mm-hmm.
And you must feed it. From our bodies we can feed it.
Mm-hmm.
And you must teach it. You must protect it.
Mm-hmm.
And you must teach the child and guide the child. And you see that in the natural kingdom. You see lioness mothers or cub mothers, doing all of that. But as a human being, we have the added responsibility to guide the emotional experience of the child, the human dimensions, emotions and the psychology, you might call it, the mental processes, and the spiritual. And the spiritual is inseparable from the physical, from how we live, from the culture, from the mores, from the structures, because it's based, our whole society, all societal structures are based in the spiritual questions of what am I, why am I here, what is life about, what's the purpose?
Right. We definitely want to go into the spiritual dimensions more. Now, I have a feeling that when you're talking about the taking care of the emotional sides, the spiritual dimensions of a child, this child is not just your own child. Is that correct? And how are you really looking at the child? You're looking at, women treating many others as their children, or an approach.
Right. The child, I believe in reincarnation. I believe a child comes in. We know that children come in with their own personality and tendencies. So it's like a sacred trust. Here is this soul, this being that has come through my body, and I'm responsible to help that one unfold according to its path. So in that sense, the child is not ours. We don't own it. It has that being, that person has its own path.
Okay.
And then in the same way, when we talk about grandmother, the word grandmother, when a woman stops giving her own birth and her daughter gives birth, she becomes the grandmother. She expands naturally her love, her domain to the people at large, you might say. I mean, that's sort of a traditional, indigenous understanding of an older woman.
Yeah.
And we need to restore that.
Give us a personal story, if you will, of how you came to experience this.
The which? Experience which?
The experience of your child and taking care of the multi-dimensions and the domains of the child.
Well, for me, I'm not a physical mother. I have not had children. But as I do this practice of the tantric dance of feminine power, and I go into that heart of compassion, and I bring my own, as my own capacity for expansion, for compassion expands, that naturally extends to everything around me. Motherhood, in its ultimate sense, is divine love. So, though I have not personally had the experience of holding that baby, giving birth and holding that baby and raising a child, through my own experience, my spiritual experiences, my prayer, my dance of compassion, I have expanded to feel responsible for everything that comes across my path, and to feel that love of motherhood that is universal,
Yes.
and that men can feel.
Right. Yes.
I mean, men come from women.
Mm-hmm.
The male is created out of the female. He's a part of her.
Mm-hmm.
Just as we are a part of the Great Mother. You know, the plants, the animals, everything's a part of the Great Mother, the Creator.
Mm-hmm.
If someone wants to think of it as a male, okay, but it makes more sense to me it's a female, because we see the female giving birth, right?
Right. Yes.
So, and there's something about calling divinity a mother that touches us in a place that is way beyond words and just speaks to the core of our longing and our desire and our experience of love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's quite beautiful. I mean, really, that women to claim the natural power of motherhood, and hence seeing all that she comes across as her children and feeling responsible for them out of compassion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's essentially what you're describing. But now go into the how of it, especially then using, spiritual practices.
The how of it for me is to really dwell in the womb.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about it, we know now from transplants that people get, they get a liver or they get a heart from somebody, and things change in their body because that person had good rhythm and they could dance, so you get their heart, or you get their liver and you're not as angry as you used to be because that person wasn't angry. That's where you hold anger. So the same, we really understand that phenomenon now, that each organ contains an intelligence and memory, and each organ in each different person's body. So you think about the womb, and encoded in the womb is the power of creation. To take spirit and create a body. So woman has that, and so in her body. So the womb is intelligent. If we drop down into that and we dwell in that, and we open to that, and we surrender to the body, to that intelligence, and invite it to move through us and welcome it in the pleasure streams and the pleasurable sensation of the body with a devotional reverence, it wakes up the deep knowing that's beyond words. It wakes up the compassion. It wakes up the connection with everything. The creative power, the feminine power, the Shakti, the animating power of the universe. So.
Yeah. You're using wakes up this natural authority in women. It sounds as if we've been asleep.
Well, we've been oppressed, right? We've been dominated. We're living in a society that, and most religions around the world see the supreme being as male, and that gives man the mandate, and it's been abused, man the mandate to dominate woman and dominate the earth, have ownership, and if you look, that's why I say women's spiritual authority is natural, because culture, original culture and art and textiles and language and even agriculture grew out of women invented it, women created it, and it came out of her natural love and nurturance of her children. So if you give birth to something and you create it, whether it's a child or it's the art or the knowledge that's coming through about how to plant seeds and that sort of thing, there's a natural spiritual authority connected to that, and responsibility.
Right.
So, I was on the path, the goddess path, for 20 years, Cheen, before I even put together those words, woman's natural spiritual authority. I'd heard female spiritual authority, and of course, that's the core of the women's movement. Spirituality movement is claiming spiritual authority. But when I put the word natural to it, a whole cascade of understandings started happening. This was the original authority, the original creativity, and it came from women's menses, their blood, when that descent every month into the dream